Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. Okay, the latest addition to the Stoneworx series here is the Small Moose. It is the RR2416. Now, this is a relatively new pattern in the Rough Ryder family, actually. This showed up, I believe, probably in the last 6-7 years. I think the first one that showed up was actually in the era of the large R or the big R or the slant R on the Bolsters. This is one in the Brown Stag series. I received this one via the old what do you call it? The care packages that they were sending out. I had the GI series for about 4 months, and this is one of the knives that showed up, and I was really happy to see this knife. It was a very pleasant knife to find, and so seeing it in the Stoneworx series was also a pleasure. As you know, I'm not big on the big R's, and the Stoneworx series does not have the big R. What I'm going to do before I go into more about this pattern is just look over the Stoneworx knife real quick, and you can see here there's a little bit of a gap right there on one of the pieces of white mother of pearl. You can see the epoxy underneath there. Also a little bit of a gap filled with epoxy over here too. So sometimes they're not going to be perfect. So you've got the black epoxy underneath there. You have the nickel silver spacers there, and the way the stones are lined out this time is white mother of pearl on the outside. Then the red agate is what they call it. I refer to it as a jasper because agate is translucent, jasper is not. Then we got the turquoise, and finally abalone in the middle, the keystone of abalone in the middle. And the reverse side is the same. Very well put together. There is no gapping really between the back springs or anything like that. I pointed out the gap in the stones there where they were gluing gluing the mother of pearl down. And sometimes you see that. I've even seen that on pearl on a few other knives too. So sometimes it just happens. But among the Rough Ryder knives, and I'm talking about all on the low end mother of pearl knives, I do not have like a mother of pearl knife from Case or anything like that. But on the low end mother of pearl knives that I have, like from Steel Warrior, Ocoee River, and Rough Ryder and such, it really does look best on the Rough Ryder knives. So that's just my opinion, but I've seen a lot of it, and it just seems that Rough Ryder knows more about what they're doing with it. You still have the pinch bolsters that you had. Whoops, wrong knife. Pinch bolsters that you see there. Nickel silver bolsters. But notice the difference in the bolsters here. And that is a spot where they kind of missed it. So notice these slanted bolsters here. Those bolsters, I think, would have tied in really nicely into here if these bolsters had been slanted, and that would have meant that they could have slanted the jasper and also slanted the mother of pearl. And that might have been why they did not go with the slanted bolsters, because it would have probably been more difficult to cut the pearl at a slant and get it mounted in there. I don't know. It might have been a problem. Might not have been, because you see here they did keystone the abalone. But I'm thinking this was the easier way to do it. But that would have really looked pretty cool with the slanted bolsters. But in any case, let's take a look at these blades. Blades are the same as they are on this knife. Now this knife, the Small Moose, comes in right at 3.5 inches, maybe 3 5/8 inches. So we're talking about the length of a canoe, but it's a slimmer pattern than the canoe. And if you also notice, you also have a kind of sleeve boarding, so that you have a taller bolster on the front end, a lower bolster or a smaller bolster on the back side here. And you've got a clip blade up front with the nice swedge going on. For those swedge fans, you're going to have it. It's going to be nice there. The blade itself is about 2 3/4 inches long with a 2.5 inch cutting edge. 440B stainless steel. This one is nice and tight. Pull on it, probably around a 5, maybe 6, something like that. 5.5, maybe we'll go that way. The other blade is a really cool blade. And it is a spay blade, but it is a funky looking spay blade. And if you notice the angle of it, notice how it follows the arc of the handle or the spine of that knife. Follows that spine going down, then it goes like a little bit of an upswept. It's really funky. It's like an upswept spay blade. I believe Rough Ryder at one time referred to this as a Texas spay when they were showing it on a jumbo trapper. I think they called it a Texas spay. I don't know if they still call it that. I think they use a similar blade on their large mooses. All right, this is the 4 3/8 inch crackle stone moose. I bought this one because it was on sale, and I'm kind of happy I bought it. I wish I would have gotten more of the crackle stone series. For one thing, if you notice, there's no big R. But this is significantly larger than the Stoneworx moose. Well, 4 3/8 inches versus 3 5/8 inches. But you notice the shape and everything is pretty much the same. This has been shrunk down. They threw this in the dryer and it just kind of shrunk a little bit. Or you can say this one was embiggened. I think this one came first though. This was the second one that came out. They shrunk this down. And actually that's what happened with the moose pattern in general. The moose pattern over the years has shrunk down. The moose pattern was a knife that or a knife very similar to the moose pattern was the knife that Nessmuck used in all of his outdoor work, his field craft and his skinning and everything else. He used a moose-like knife. But this is the smaller version, and you see this Beyblade, and then you see this Beyblade. And same blade, they just shrunk it down. And on this knife, they called it a Texas spay. So I don't know if you want to call this a mini Texas spay or what, but it's just kind of an upswept spay blade, and it's not much of a spay blade either when you look at it, because notice how the tip is, and it is actually rounded. So it almost feels more like a pen blade or a spear blade, but or some kind of weird drop point or something. But it could also be considered a spay blade. But it is also a nice upswept skinning blade, and it's got a really good angle to it the way it drops like that. Notice how the drop, there's the handle straight going out, and you can definitely get your hand underneath there and do some rocking and cutting and everything. So it's pretty cool. When this knife first came out, like I mentioned in the brown stagbone, I had mentioned I'd like to see them replacing this blade with other types of blades, you know, like a shorter pin blade, or with a cap lift or something like that. The more I'm thinking about it though, this is one of those knives where I like that blade. This blade I would prefer to see on the knife, and if they're going to swap out anything, I'd rather them swap out the clip blade now. But as it is, it's a good combination of blades. Let's get back to the Stoneworx. That's the one I should be showing because, well, that's the one I just bought, right? Anyway, when you're holding the clip blade in the hand, you got the spay blade there, and you do this. If you squeeze nice and tight, this blade just disappears anyway. You can feel it, but I wouldn't call it a hot spot. It is definitely there. You can definitely feel it, but it's not going to be anything dramatic. Perhaps it would be a problem if you're cutting with this for, you know, an hour on end or something, but for light duty and stuff, I don't think it's going to matter too much. And the same thing with the bump this way. Matter of fact, in my left hand, yeah, all this does is see where my fingers hit, and here the clip is right in between these two fingers, and it feels fine. It's a nice way to index the hand in there. In right-handed, actually it feels better in my right hand than it does the left hand with this, so something else to think about. But really, quite often when you're cutting with something like this, especially scraping or something, your fingers are not even going to be bothered by that clip blade at all. So anyway, that's the way I look at it. Very pretty knife. It is out there in stag bone. I think it is still around. I don't know if they've made it in any other. I think they have. So if you really like this knife, this is one of those patterns that feels good. It makes a good, it's a good size for everyday carry, 3 5/8 inches or so. So about the same size as a canoe. With more distinctive blades. You've got 2 long blades on here versus 1 short and 1 long blade that you have on a canoe. And the direction of cut on the 2 blades is dramatically different versus what you have on a canoe. So definite distinct possibilities. Man, this would be good for spreading. Yeah. So you got your peanut butter blade there, and or your butter blade there, and a good clip blade. So if you've got steak and potatoes and maybe some bread or something, this knife would come in real handy. Anyway, I do like this one. I'm glad to see this one show up in the Stoneworx lineup. For the longest time, I was thinking I might end up dumping this one because of the R, but now it's now that I could actually do it because I have one without the R on it, I still just kind of like this knife. So this is one of those knives that even though it has an R on it, it might stay in my collection for a while. If for no other reason, I also have this one, and this is the Trapper pin blade or something. They called it like that, something like that, Trapper pin blade or Trapper with a pin blade or something like that. They call everything a trapper if they can get away with it. I'm surprised they didn't call this like a reverse trapper or something. But anyway, this one, a little more problematic. Where's that? There you go. Got a nice long slim blade there, and then obviously a pin blade. But what I like about this one is the nice long handle here. The only thing I would do with this knife is put the nail nick on the backside here so that it'd be easier to pull out. And I'd love to see this knife in the Stoneworx lineup. Any case, man, I'm going all over the place with this, but then I know a lot of people are just not into the Stoneworx knives. I don't understand why not. I really like them. But if nothing else, this is just a really cool pattern too. So if you're looking for a smaller cousin to the moose, you might want to consider this knife either in the Stoneworx lineup or some other Rough Ryder lineup with some other cover on it. I'm pretty certain there's more than just the brown stag bone out there. let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with the Pious. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.